I never expected my Iceberg video to blow up to the length it has reached. The views, the supportive comments, the subs, it was really exciting to see people enjoy what I had made, especially given how long it took me to make. This doesn't mean that production was smooth all the way, no. There were a number of problems I had to go through for that video to even exist, also including the fact with the amount of content I had to cut out from the final product. This was a long time coming, and I'm finally ready to discuss what happened during production of this monster of a video, along with going over errors that it had and with content I had cut out, such as removing entries, cutting down dialogue, jokes, and even straight up vetoing entries. This is how the Iceberg video came to be. Let's go back to late January. I had recently finished binging the entire show by just watching it all in 2 days. Yes, I had way too much free time back then. I had already wanted to create content on YouTube for a good few months, but I had no ideas on what I wanted to create content on. I then decided to just do BFDI content since that is something I am insanely interested in, and I still am at the current moment. I decided to brainstorm some ideas on videos I should make. The idea of the Iceberg wouldn't come around until early February, and a notepad wouldn't be made until the 12th. But it wasn't going to be a BFDI iceberg at first. It was originally planned to be an OSC iceberg, but at the time I knew nothing about the OSC, and I still kinda don't to this day. I ended up changing it to just being on BFDI since I know more about that than knowing about the OSC. By the way, the idea came to life at 6:29 AM. Don't ask why. There wasn't exactly a plan on how big the iceberg was going to be, but I wanted to make a massive one. I am a fan of long-form content and video essays. I saw that the OSC was kind of lacking in that department, inspiring me to provide to the community what I saw was missing. However, I failed to realize how long it would take me to finish. On February 15th, I moved everything to a Google Docs and started creating a research doc. I had also renamed it to The Battle for G-Mine Mega Iceberg Explained, as the name was already set in stone before research even started. I began finding entries on the same day and would keep doing so until around March 3rd. Even so, I would still add and remove entries later on, such as the BRB and the exit, which were ideas that I thought of that weren't present in other icebergs I was looking at. Finding these entries would take roughly over 30 hours to do. I actually had my iPad beside me with a timer to see how long it would take and what my average was. The research doc would be updated for Teapots 4 and 5 since it was a very big project. Around this time, I had made community posts showing my progress on the video. I dubbed them the Weekly Iceberg Update and would post an update every Sunday. Roughly 5 of these posts were made, but if you go through my community tab, the posts aren't there anymore aside from 2 editing updates. This was because in my last post, I said that I would be deleting all update posts so that the tab isn't cluttered. Yeah, if only I would see the kind of stuff I post now from time to time. Anyway, I would then take a short break from the project and get back to it on April 2nd, where I would begin the script. The script I thought would have been awful to make, but I was able to find a style that worked, and I was able to get it done in about 3 days. Having the research doc greatly sped it up, having only taken 9 hours in total. Then I get into my biggest hurdle of the project. You see, when I was about to do the voiceover part, I tested out my headset mic to see if it would be good. I had already ruled out using text-to-speech since I feel like hearing mostly TTS for 2 hours straight would have just made the video boring. After some testing for about an hour, the headset mic was not good. It would keep cutting out words and it was just way too low quality to work, even after some tweaks that I did. This put a dent in my plans as I was planning to have the video out by April. Due to this, I ended up pushing it back to May. Just note that I never gave an official release date until this post came up, so no one really knew when it was coming out. All like 40 of them. I then had a plan, which now that I look back on it, was pretty bad. I had the idea to record my voice on my phone while in the bathroom, with the iPad having the script on the sink. Doesn't make that much sense, right? Well, at the time, that was all I was thinking. I ended up just not doing this the same night because I wasn't able to find an app to record my voice and that the feedback was awful whenever I found one. I then decided to just buy a new microphone and I had decided on buying the Blue Yeti X. It arrived a few days later along with the foam cover. I then tested out the mic and it was perfect for what I needed. I began to voice the script, but other problems arose. Around the month of April, construction work was happening nearby, and the construction work was loud. Every time I wanted to voice, I would hear the buzzing, the banging, the blades, the drills, all that for hours on end for several weeks, and my mic would pick it up no matter what I did. The construction would last during the day, and I wasn't comfortable yet voicing in the night since people are usually home. So there were days on end that I just wouldn't do anything. It would stop at some point, but then something else came up. Dogs. My aunt, who was leaving to go to Florida for about a week, left her 2 dogs here, them being Chihuahuas. I was home pretty much by myself the entire time and would only get a break when it was nighttime. Even then, I still tried to get some voicing in hopes that they wouldn't bark or start moving around a lot. I would try and voice over level 1 of the Iceberg, but then a third problem came up. The mic would randomly distort and pop, and I wasn't able to find out what was causing it, with me thinking I ended up getting a faulty mic. I still pressed on though, as the problems were a bit easy to fix using Audacity. Level 1 would end up taking about 2 days, and I would begin voicing level 2 soon after. Then the mic problems got worse. It got so bad to where I was only about 9 entries in, and 2 hours have passed. At this point, I ended up getting severely demotivated to just keep going, as it was also a bit late, so I just stopped. I ended up being in a very bad mood for the next few days, with my mind clouded with really bad thoughts on how I'm a failure and how this project would never be completed, and that I'm wasting my time and spending money on some microphone that I will probably never use now. I was even at a point where I was just considering canceling the entire video. One day, after coming back from helping with groceries, I went on YouTube and found the video that showed my recommended. I ended up watching the video and came to understand something. While the person's mic wasn't exactly that bad but could still use some work, a phrase started to repeat in my head. If people can understand what I'm saying, that's okay. With this in mind, I finally calmed down and just decided to take another break from the project until the dogs leave and then I'm ready to keep going. I also took this time to fix whatever was going on with the microphone. Turns out the wire that connects to the laptop was the wrong way. Whoops. The dogs would eventually leave and I got back to voicing on May 2nd, finishing by May 9th. Finally, a huge hurdle had been overcome. Now there was the editing. Oh wait, I don't have any editing software, and Adobe Premiere wasn't going to cut it as I'm not spending like $100 a month for an editing software. Luckily, some of my friends were using a free one called DaVinci Resolve 18. I just downloaded it and that was that. I would then begin getting all the media that I needed for the Iceberg, and that took a while to do. I would finally start editing on May 16th, working hours and hours on end getting this video done. Before I really dove into editing, I uploaded a 40-second video showing the second part of the intro, with me saying that I'm working hard on the video. The video would then be made private later when the actual video was done. No, I'm not making it public again, there's really no point in you seeing it. The editing would be complete on May 23rd. I would then spend the next few days looking over the video to see if there are any errors or something that I missed. You'll see later on that I didn't catch a few. I would also begin working on the thumbnail. If you've seen the video early on, you might remember this thumbnail before it was changed to this. I would then render the video after checking it over, with it taking around 2 hours or so, since it is a 2-hour video. I then uploaded it to my channel, but had it private as I wanted to look over to see if there were any glaring problems that happened in the render. There was, but I'll get into that later. At this point, everything was done. The Iceberg was set to go live on May 26th at 12 PM EST, originally announced from a community post I had made. 3 months of work, finally finished. May 26th would arrive, and the video only got 200 views in the first week. I already knew that the video wasn't going to blow up right away, or really at all, but that did kind of make me sad a little. Even then, I had to remember that just because you put a lot of work into something doesn't always mean it'll equal views. The video would start to slowly pick up views, getting around 14,000 after 2 weeks. Then after getting multiple shoutouts from other OSE creators, the video blew up. 25,000 views, 50,000 views, 100,000 views, 250,000, 500,000? The video was being shown everywhere, and a lot of people at this point knew who I was. My channel was also gaining subs fast, going from 100 to 1,000 in about 4 days. The video also got me to get monetization on my videos. The monetization and the traction to the video allowed me to justify the time and effort put into this passion project of a video. 3 months of work finally paid off. I'm honestly really happy that it got popular, because if it didn't, I really have no idea if I would have kept doing YouTube, I'm going to be honest here. I assume that because of shorts being all over the place and short form content becoming popular, I had a feeling that the video wouldn't do well given the video length. Looks like I was proven wrong. Twice. In the end, it was all worth it. Now, before I get to what I cut out from the iceberg, I want to go over some errors that the video had that people pointed out, and entries that I have forgotten to include. Let's start with the first one. In the Huang Brothers entry, I put Battle's icon where Michael was when I was showing off who he voiced. This is incorrect as Satomi voices Battle. This somehow got by through me looking over the video and I had never noticed until a single comment pointed it out. Well, wait till they try and fix it now. Throughout the video, there are times where you may see random blobs of glitchy messes around the video. Those are rendering errors, and this is what I meant when I said I had found some issues when looking over the video on YouTube. The computer I am currently using is a bit old, as I have had it since around 2017. This thing is really starting to show its age, but still pushes through with rendering, so no complaints I suppose. This one here I've got so many comments about. From 4112 to 4152 of the video, the audio seemingly cuts out and then comes back. No, the video wasn't broken or glitched. This was done on purpose. Why? Well, the video that was being shown, that being the It's Over video, had copyrighted music in it. I was allowed to keep the video up, but I didn't feel like dealing with the problem later if it becomes one. In order to get rid of the copyright flag, I had three options. Cut the part out, cut the music out but try and keep my voice intact, or mute the audio. Out of the three, I chose to just mute the audio. There was no reason to cut that part out, and the second option made me sound horrible. After I did this, the flag went away. Keep in mind, this was before I even had monetization, so it was just better to deal with it then than now. I did put what happened in the description, but to be fair, it is really far down there. This one was also said a lot in the comments. In the contestant companies entry, many, and I mean many people, said that I forgot to add Lollipop because of her fork repellent. She wasn't put there because I had randomly forgotten she had that gag, and it was never really implied that she owned a company. Just because you are selling something doesn't mean you own the company it's from. The guidebook says that she is a saleswoman. There's nothing about her owning a company, even if it isn't outright said. I'm not sure if I should even count this as an error, but it's better if I just address it now than a pinned comment that I have. There are probably more that I missed, but these are mainly the ones I'm aware of. Let's move on to things I forgot to include. The marker plush was on BBC News in the UK on April 8th of this year, along with a kid named Ashton. This caught the attention of many people, including Carrie himself. This wasn't on the iceberg because I haven't heard about this until around late May. I was already too far into editing that I just couldn't include it. The maze gag is a joke that has occurred throughout BFDI and BFDIA. I forgot to include this since, well, I forgot this was a thing since it hardly happened in BFB and Teapot other than one single time in BFB 15. As this entry would take too long to really explain, the DistroKid situation around Carrie was that someone was stealing music from Michael, claiming it as their own, and striking videos and channels using the music. I'm not sure how I forgot about this, since it looked like I watched the video given the like I gave it. I most likely watched this when it was trending, but just didn't recall any of it afterwards. Anything popular would receive a bootleg. This is mainly just showing the massive amounts of bootleg plushies that are viable online, notably on eBay, Amazon, and other sites. I forgot this was a thing, hence why it wasn't in the iceberg. I feel really bad for not noticing this sooner. If you don't know what Homestar Runner is, it's a pretty old web series that dates back to 1996. Carrie and Michael seem to be fans of the series as their old channel logo spoofed Homestar Runner's logo, as well as various references to the show. They would keep the Homestar Runner style logo until around 400k subs, where it would be changed to the current one we see today. I'm not sure how I forgot about this. Now this is something I feel like people should have pointed me out missing. While Robot Flower's shop was only seen once in Teapot 2, that technically is a company that she owns, unlike Lollipop. Whoops. This was brought to my attention several times regarding Michael's channels. Some of them have a really weird history as well. I really wish I didn't forget about that, as I think it would have been fun to talk about. Maybe soon. Well, here we are, the part that I bet most of you were waiting for. There's quite a lot that I had cut, toned down, or just didn't want to include from the Iceberg. Before that, let me show you guys something. You guys know what this is, right? This is the Iceberg image that most of you have seen. What if I told you that this image is actually the 4th version? I made 3 other versions prior to making it to the final one. This right here is the first version, made on February 28th. This actually has some entries on here that aren't present in the other versions. Oh yeah, wondering why the image looks really low quality? That's because I saved it in a JPEG format, which heavily compresses the image to save on space. I wish I could show the 2nd version, but for whatever reason, that's gone. I have no idea what I did with it. This is the 3rd version, which is pretty much almost the exact same as the final version, and was made on April 2nd. And the final one right here that all of you know about was made on May 21st. Now, to make showing the cut content easier, I just went ahead and made another Iceberg image to make it easier to follow. This is in no order in terms of known to least known. This should be going in order from when it was removed, starting with... This was simply renamed to just being Yo-Yo Berries. Not sure what I was thinking when I made this originally. This was merged into Total Fiery Island to not stretch out the Iceberg, as if that mattered anyway. I'm not sure why I removed this, but I guess I was going to include it in the BFDI 5B entry, which is funny because I never mentioned it anyway. This was merged with the split since I found it to make much more sense being talked about there than being in its own entry. I wasn't exactly keen on talking about this, I didn't want to spread any incorrect information, so I just renamed this to the BFDI 4 votes were manipulated entry. This was removed entirely as I just lost interest in it. I also wasn't exactly clear on what this was talking about. I thought this was originally about this page that I had found, but then others showed me this video. I don't know which is which, but I just decided to remove it. These two were at first their own entries, but I ended up creating the contestant companies entry and just merged them there. This was removed as I'm not exactly a fan of shipping. If you don't know what this is just talking about an interaction that Nito had about Coiny in BFDI 1B, saying that she likes him more than just friends, leading people to think that Nito has a crush on Coiny. This was completely removed for a while, until I decided to bring it back under a different name, that being No BFB Split. I first thought this wasn't even true, but after doing more research and saw this screenshot, I confirmed it was. This was removed as I felt like it would have been a bit weird to discuss what cannibalism is. Even with some of the other entries I have on this list, I just wasn't that okay with talking about it, it just felt too weird. Kinda the same reason as the last one, but this is going over a 789 joke that happened in one of the Jack and Jellyfish shorts. I was going to include this, but I found the joke to be a bit lame and lost interest in it later on. Now that I think about it, why did I have 2 entries talking about cannibalism? HTwins.net is a website that belongs to both Carrie and Michael, where it houses most of the BFDI games and where you can download their assets. This was removed as there isn't really a point in bringing this up since most of the stuff on that site doesn't really work anymore, as most stuff used there is Flash, which was discontinued in 2020. If I was making this Iceberg back in 2021, I would include this, but due to the nature of post-up BFB, a lot of the fears that he had are now gone and it's now helping others get over their fears. Also, some of the fears like fear of the number 5 feel really nitpicky, so this was removed. I found this on a different Iceberg while looking for entries, and for whatever reason, I had put this in the final version. After doing a revision of what I found, this entry was just really dumb and I ended up removing it. I'm going to be honest, no one needs to know about this. If you want to know what it is, just look at what's playing on screen. I removed this because, no. Just no. This sucks. This was a theory made which came after the storyboard video for BFDI 1A was released. This would end up being merged into the BFDI 1A alt cut entry. This was a theory that I believe came from a video made by Saploshi, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This was cut as I found it pointless. This is a 2 to 3 hour long series made by Tokoi. I don't exactly recall why I removed it. Maybe I found that it would have been too boring to talk about, so I just cut it out. This entry would have involved multiple different entries such as...
I'm hanging.
Well, now it's a 99.1% chance because Pretty Smart is catching up.
And other things. Some of them were made into their own entry, while others were removed entirely. This was removed because I have found this to be way too short of an entry. If you want to know what this is, in the FLA files for BFB16 where Taco is walking away from Book, if you remove Taco from the scene, you would see 2 doing the OK hand sign. This would be replaced by the unrendered exit entry. As the final entry to be removed, this stayed on a normal Iceberg for over a month, but was removed since I found it later to be a bit mean. It's probably just kids that aren't aware that voting ended. Even though it ended like 13 years ago. Hold on there, I'm not done yet. These are those entries that were cut. I hadn't even gotten over entries that were cut down and entries that were not included whatsoever but were thought about. Let's get into that right now. I legit just wasn't able to find anything about this. It may be a creepypasta like BFDI 26, but I just couldn't find anything for it to stick. This does have a creepypasta page, however there is not much else about it unlike BFDI 26 where it is way more common than this. I also kinda didn't want to include a lot of creepypasta things. Maybe it's talking about the Gag of Green video? I doubt it though. I was not able to find out what this was referencing. I know for BFB there was Purple Face and Non-Existy, but not for BFDIA. I just couldn't find anything on it. Other than the funny logo, this wasn't included for obvious reasons. Straight up no. This is a theory that has nothing to back it up other than that one scene in BFB 1. There was also the Teardrop speaker box in BFDI 25, but I highly doubt they are even related. Teardrop can't speak anyway, so I just found 0 point in this. I didn't include this one because I found this to be a bit nitpicky, as this is only going off from one scene in BFB 10. I will admit, this is an interesting theory, but other than one YouTube video on it, there isn't much else about it, so I didn't bother. This is true in a sense. As far as we know, Total Fiery Island was the first, however it isn't animated unlike Battle for Dream Island. I didn't find this interesting enough to include, so I canned it. I wasn't able to find anything on this since they probably got removed. Even if it wasn't, I still would not include this in the Iceberg for obvious reasons. This goes for literally anything. It won't be forgotten for a long while, sure, but this is a common thing. I don't know why this was labeled as a theory when I found it. I was kind of interested in finding out what this is, but I found nothing, so I have no idea where this theory, or whatever it is, even came from. Along with the DistroKid thing, the person who was stealing music apparently doxed the brothers. Other than one Reddit post that I found, I couldn't find anything else, so I didn't include it due to lack of details. This is a 30-part miniseries that is on YouTube. The first half feels way too fast and inconsistent. The second half is a bit better, but not by much. The creator doesn't support the series anymore, and I thought it would have been better to not include it in the main Iceberg, so I scrapped it. I can't find anything about this theory. My only idea is that every season so far, other than IDFB, has contestants always being involved in some sort of competition. Not sure other than that. The most popular ship in BFDI, and something I don't want to talk about. I'm not a fan of shipping, so this was canned. I don't know what this could be. All I could find is something to do with this being on an FLA file off screen, but this was scrapped due to lack of research. Now we have entries that were cut down. Cartoon Crave Awards was severely cut down from the original script. It was going to include Hell of a Boss fans being angry at BFDI fans for winning, but I cut this out so I didn't find it necessary to bring up. Character arcs was cut down as well. I was originally going to explain every single arc, but that would have made the entry way too long. The same can be said with the Alliances entry. They were both cut down to only saying what each one is. In Ruby's Sugar Stash, I was originally going to call Carrie a Chad for making a joke apology and saying that he has nothing to be sorry about. There was going to be a joke that Carrie's head would have been photoshopped onto Giga Chad. I don't have Photoshop, Paint.net sucks, and I didn't feel like asking anyone at the time to do it, so the joke never happened. This will be changed to me saying that Ruby loves sugar. J&J 2018 Thanksgiving 2 is gonna have me say the word, Earl, but I decided to not say it since, well, that's weird? Revenge had a final line where I would have read out Ice Cube's Did You Know fact. I decided to not say it as it didn't feel like it really fit with the entry. For Fiery Election, I was going to read out each person's name for whoever they voted for. Just like with some other cut down entries, this was reduced to not make it long. In Swearing, I was going to just straight up say the curse words, but ended up just pretending I did by adding a beep sound. For the final part, here are some smaller things that I cut out or didn't include. For the start of level 5, I was going to put this song, being Of Ambrosia by Frums. This was changed to being Cruel the Night as I wanted all the music in the video to be related to BFDI. In my script, I have a legend which has colors showing what each thing is. One of them is light blue, where I would have had other people voiced in the video. I was having the idea of having some of my friends' voice in the video, where they would have mainly been reading tweets or Discord messages. However, due to them being busy and with my poor timing, I ended up just scrapping it and just read everything myself. For the OSC entry, where I was showing other people's channels, I was going to put myself in there, but I didn't, as I found that to be egotistical. This was the image, by the way. Pretty hard to believe how far my channel has grown since I took that screenshot. And there you have it. That's pretty much everything that happened during production of the video. There was quite a lot to go over. I still want to give my thanks to everyone out there who watched the video. You've all really made my year with that video getting popular, and I will forever be thankful. I know people will probably be asking if I will make an Iceberg on a different show or make a part 2 to the original. All I can say is that there are currently no plans for any of that to happen. Maybe for 2024, but only time will tell with whatever happens. I want to give a big thanks to Dirt for making the poses on my brand new OC, Iceberg. I also want to shout out Kuberthan as they animated a section of the video. They are both very talented at what they do, and I highly suggest you check out both of their channels. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey, feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks again, I'll be seeing you soon. Bye! Shut up, dude.